So next up, we have Sian Sutherland, who is the co-founder of A Plastic Planet. She's going to give us a keynote speech on Is Our Misuse of Plastic the Wake-Up Call the World Needs? Welcome, Sian.
Do I have a clicker? Great, thanks. Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Sarah and Daniel. I really enjoyed that. And everything Daniel was saying is so spot on what we at A Plastic Planet really believe in. And thank you to the Telegraph for inviting us here, because I speak to you today, yes, as an entrepreneur, yes, as a mother, but really as a citizen of the planet. And sometimes I think we forget, what we're talking about today is something that affects 7.5 billion people. And we are all citizens. Even if you're worried about your bottom line today, even if you're worried about your inbox, ultimately we are all citizens. And that's the mindset that we should have today. So the first thing I want to do is confess to you. My name is Sian, and I'm a plastic addict. And I'm pretty sure most of us, all of us really, in this room today, we're all addicted to the easy, convenient, cheap, grab-and-go lifestyle that this incredible material has afforded us. But now we know what we know. We know that we have to change for all the reasons that Daniel was giving us. The answer is not just going to be about coming up with reasons that we can continue this addictive behavior. The first thing you have to do when you're an addict is look in the mirror and you have to tell yourself the truth. And we all have to admit, this is what we are, and now we move to step 2. How can we change? So just a few facts that I am sure you guys are in this industry, you know these things, but just to refresh us. Here we are in the UK, thinking that we're showing leadership by having a consultation to perhaps increase from 5p to 10p every time you forget to take your carrier bag to the supermarket. When we have 50 countries, including South Korea, Kenya, Rwanda, who have now banned the plastic bag. And we think we're showing leadership by perhaps doubling this small notional tax. We all know this number, 9% of the 6.3 billion tons of plastic waste has actually been recycled once, maybe twice, rarely a third time, I believe. And a controversial stat, there is another word, a little bit of a weasel word, I feel, single-use plastic, that people thinking, I can use all the other plastics. It's single use. It's the cotton bud. It's the straw. These little things that we pick off one by one. When actually, if we step back and think, if it's never been recycled, it's all single use. This clicker, is it ever going to be another thing? That biro in your pocket, is that ever going to be another thing? I doubt it. Therefore, let's tell ourselves the truth. Just 1 year. You line those plastic bottles up, it goes halfway to the sun. You take all the plastic that is in the world right now, put it into a little Lego brick, you can wrap the planet 16 times. Where do we think all this plastic is going to go? A lot of focus on our oceans. Understandably, it's very emotional. We all care about the sea. We cannot believe what we have done to the incredible marine environment. But let's think a little bit more about where else it maybe is. Up to 23 times as much plastic in our soil now, where we're growing our food, the food that we're feeding our children. It's in the air. It's at the very beginning of our food chain. It's in our soil. It's in every glass of water, just as Daniel was, and Sarah was saying. It's in every single glass of water. Even if it comes from a soda stream, until they do an incredible filtration system that I'm sure they are working on right now. It's in every glass of water, every drink that we have. It's in our beer, it's everywhere. We're breathing in our clothes. And of course, it's in our bodies. And we have no idea, well, actually, correction, we do have an idea of the impact on human health, because it's been recorded many, many times, but yet we still ignore it. And then we talk about recycling as perhaps this is the answer. And the UK, actually, much as we are very self-critical about the amount of recycling of plastic within the UK, which is 9%, And if anybody wants to ask me where that number comes from, please come and see me afterwards, and I will lay out the entire numbers. We need to tell the truth. But in the US, I'm afraid it was only 2.8% last year recycled within the US. And where does the rest of it go? Landfill. There's a lot of land in the US. They're still landfilling. Incineration or export. And this is where we are. Not as good as many European countries, but actually Europe is doing better than most. And that is what we call good. So where does all this plastic go? Well, we think we found a place for it. Now China, obviously, no longer want to be the world's rubbish dump. We found other places from the UK that we can send our rubbish to, popping it in a little container, much of it contaminated, 100% recycled. Luckily, that is soon going to be illegal. But we're sending it now to countries that have an absolute record of waste mismanagement. Places like Malaysia, Indonesia, we've all seen those photographs. I don't need to belay that point. But even worse, we're finding new places now to send our rubbish. And we're sending it to places like Myanmar. We're sending it to places like Mozambique, where they have an over 80% record of waste mismanagement. So when people say to me, Sian, we've got to be very careful. If you go for one material, we understand plastic. We think we can recycle plastic. When people say, we've got to be very careful about unintended consequences. Oh my God, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard those words, unintended consequences, as a reason to not change. Every time we continue to misuse plastic as a default material for the wrong purposes, it is an intended consequence now. So is plastic the wake-up call? You would hope so, because this is not new news. People have known for 25 years that plastic is indestructible. Plastic is living in our environment. You would think that perhaps the tap was turning off itself, but no. These are the numbers. We are set to treble plastic production and then fivefold plastic production. Where do we think all this plastic is going to go? Forgive me for that slide. I know it's early morning, but why are we not learning? Why do we continue to do this? Get on a train, get on a flight, go into a shop, buy a cup of coffee. The numbers of little bits of plastic that we are given. You don't need it. Next time you fly an EasyJet, chat to them and say, why do I need the little stirrer, the cup, the this, the that? Why is it taking so long for us to change? I understand supply chain. You know, I'm an entrepreneur. I ran a skincare brand for 10 years. I know how hard change is. I am no plastic saint, but it is unforgivable for us to delay in the way that we are. So we set up a Plastic Planet, two unreasonable women who decided it's not okay for us to continue to excuse this behavior. And we set up a Plastic Planet as citizens, as consumers, as shoppers, as mothers, because there is no choice. And our public, your public, your customers want choice now. And we wanted to focus just on this, what we believe is an absolute misuse of plastic, this incredible, indestructible material that we currently use for something as impermanent as packaging. So we have one mission, which is simply to ignite and inspire the world to turn off the plastic tap. In a pro-business, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, I believe in the power of business. Governments are too slow, they're going to take too long, and, you know, where is Michael Gove today? Very good question. Focusing on something that we will not be talking about in 50 years' time, but guaranteed we'll be talking about plastic in 50 years' time. So the governments are too slow, the public are too disempowered. Business is what is going to change the world. So how can we ignite and inspire business to turn off that plastic tap? And we want to empower the people, because in no other campaign or initiative or environmental cause, nothing has ever ignited the public like this. And people often say to me, why does plastic get all the media attention? Why in global warming, that's the big issue. But the incredible thing about plastic is it's the gateway to you realizing and caring about everything else that we're doing. So we first wanted to focus on what we believe is a misuse, which is packaging our food and drink. And 2 years ago now, we launched a campaign asking simply for choice to be able to buy plastic-free, and asked the supermarkets to give us a plastic-free aisle. And I'll show you a tiny video that just sums up our first year.
We have a simple goal to ignite and inspire the world to turn off the plastic tap.
Talk about that now with Sian, Sutherland.
The campaigner behind the idea, Sian.
Sutherland Group, a plastic planet.
When did it become okay to wrap something as perishable as food in something as indestructible as plastic? So it is very hard if you want to change your habits and you go to the supermarket and you push your trolley and you're trying to put your meat and your fish and your weekly groceries in, and everything is wrapped in plastic. So you end up taking this shed load of plastic home, you put it in your bin, you have no idea if it's actually going to be recycled properly. So our campaign is super simple. We want supermarkets to create a plastic-free aisle.
The Prime Minister has urged supermarkets to introduce those aisles where shoppers can buy products with no plastic packaging.
Supermarkets also need to do much more to cut down on unnecessary plastic packaging. So we will work with them.
The plastic-free trust mark cuts through the confusion of symbols and labels and tells you just one thing. This package is plastic-free.
You can now buy wheat-free, gluten-free, fat-free, all of these things, but you can't buy plastic-free.
It's more than a mark. It's a symbol. It's a revolution for choice. Finally, shoppers can be part of the solution. One plastic-free day is just one day. It's the one day a year, just 24 hours, where you think twice before you reach for that plastic-wrapped sandwich, that drink with a straw, that plastic bottle of water. My name is Sian.
My name is Federica.
My name is Lynn.
My name is John.
My name is Alan.
And I'm a plastic addict, but I am ready for change. So let's turn off the plastic tap together. We have way more power than we think.
People think that we don't like plastic. We're not plastic haters here. I think plastic is incredible. Who knew that man could invent a material that lasts forever? And what do we do with it? We throw it away. We treat it like rubbish. This incredible material needs to be put back on a pedestal. We need to respect it. Why is it so cheap? Why is it subsidized so much? When it's like gold. It lasts for centuries. We throw it in the ocean. We throw it into the land. We throw it in the bin. It's ridiculous. It's just a misuse of an incredible material. The old way of making things, exactly as Daniel was saying, that model is dead. Now it's about the fact that we have to evolve. We have to rethink. We have to do things in a very, very different way. And this is the bit that excites me. And I'm moving on to the positive part of my 15-minute fast track, which is, at the moment, we all know we're in the linear. At the moment, we're in danger of so many people mistaking the circular economy, where there is no bin, where there's barely anything in there, for the recycling economy. Let us not confuse the two. Recycling plastic is simply delaying its journey to the bin. How many park benches, how much carpet underlay does the world need when we are looking at a 5-fold increase in plastic production? So what do we do at A Plastic Planet? These are the things that we want to focus on because we want to help people change. We are not the organization that criticizes from the outside. We want to ignite and inspire from the inside. Legislation and taxation, of course, super important. We all know when industry is legislated into it, even the threat of legislation, they're going to change faster because it becomes a have to, not a nice to, for your shareholders. We understand that. So things like the plastic tax are going to be important. We are right now pushing for a new law to go through Parliament because I don't know about you, but I do not like the idea that my plastic waste is being sent to some of the poorest people in the world who have nothing to deal with. So we are asking for an outright ban on the export of our plastic waste to developing countries. We need to ignite business from within, and I want to quickly talk, and in fact, Isabel is here, who is from Unilever, who is spearheading this project. We did the first hackathon that Unilever have ever done, and we all know when Unilever decide to do something, they go all in, and it will change everything. The first project that we talked to them about was how can we eliminate 46 billion plastic sachets that are not recycled, of course, because they're uncollectible and they are worthless. And we came away from that workshop, and we're working with Isabel now on a solution that will eradicate 46 billion plastic sachets every single year. And that, for me, is really exciting. And that will start, hopefully, on One Plastic Free Day later this year, on June the 5th, with a pilot in the Philippines. And this is industry showing how change can happen. We're involved with Unilever as well on what you will all know about after the announcement in Davos, and obviously this is now coming up fast in May when it launches in Paris and New York, but the TerraCycle Loop initiative. And we're working with Unilever on this, which for me is just the most beautiful example of how change can be so desirable and also so elevated, and the whole experience can be so great that this is the new way that one day you will be able to buy your deodorant in a beautiful stainless steel and aluminium permanent packaging. And then when you run out of your deodorant, you are sent not yet another bit of plastic that you end up putting in the bin and feel guilty about. You are sent the bit that you've actually consumed, your deodorant, that you pop back in. Refill is going to be the future. We know that we need open source information, and anybody who's working on anything, and I love Daniel saying, anyone who wants to know this technology, come and talk to us. This is not about competitive advantage. This is about the fact that we all need to open source everything. Unilever are already saying everything that they do on the sachet program will be open source so that we can change things faster. They have a history of that when they did their compressed aluminium can project. We all need to do this together. We need to give consumers choice. Right now, every time they go shopping, every time they buy your products, your packaging, they feel guilty. We need to give them choice. Of course, for us, it started with supermarkets, because particularly in the UK, supermarkets are very powerful. This was a little glimpse of our plastic-free aisle in Amsterdam. More recently, we did a project in London at a Thornton Budgens supermarket. Andrew Thornton, inspirational franchise holder of the Budgens in Belsize Park, who said, take over my supermarket because I hate the plastic in my supermarket. Here's a little example of what we did. And you can see he literally did give us his store as a takeover, and we continue to work there. And this is an open lab for everyone to come down. We've had 26 people from Unilever down. We've had Sobeys, the second biggest supermarket chain in Canada, come over. We've got a contingent coming from China coming next month. People want to see how change can happen. And finally, we need to elevate sustainability. We need to take it off the forest floor. We need to take it out of this eco-warrior, green, knitted armpit, hairy sandal world. And we need to make it desirable, aspirational, modern, contemporary, edgy. Because this is what the next generation need. We just launched the first packaging-free, plastic-free packaging design awards with the Dye Line in partnership in the US, which is the big global design award scheme. So my message is simple. If you don't evolve, your customer will make you irrelevant. Business and brands will lead this change. We have the power. You have the power. We are the only species that leave waste on this planet. Who gives us the right to do that? So please don't look for excuses today. Don't look for little loopholes that would enable us to continue the way that we are behaving, the way that we are treating our planet. Because the question isn't this. The question isn't what's the more sustainable coffee cup to enable us to still have this throwaway lifestyle. The question is this. How are we going to live as citizens, as 7.5 billion people, soon to be 10 billion people? What are we leaving for our children, who are now striking on the streets because of our inaction? They deserve better than that. You have way more power than you think. Please use it wisely. Thank you.